And good morning, Dave in the AM, the Cornbread Man, Patriot morning show. Coming in earlier. Yes, I have an early meeting. Remember, this is a day that me and Rob don't broadcast together the morning show. So either I do the Cornbread Man morning show or the Patriot morning show. This is the Patriot morning show. And it's a great time to do that. 4th of July coming up tomorrow, and celebration of freedom. So we like the Southern Fried Patriot morning show. Hope you've slept well, had a pretty good night. Went to bed a little earlier, actually, even though we stream up till 10. I'm usually midnight or later going to bed, but went and got some rest. But happy Thursday. I have, like I said, I have an early meeting, interviewing someone, and looking forward to that. And hope that you're doing well. The big, beautiful bill has been advanced in the House to the debate. It's in its final phase. If they can get through this, it'll go to the president for his signature. And there is still time. They are making moves. They're making advancements toward that end. Trying to get it in for the holiday. This would be pretty amazing if they're able to do that. As awkward as things can be in Washington, there's a lot of fireworks going on, asking for the Fed chair to resign immediately. He wants interest rates at 1%. Really pushing the agenda. Brought in a new trade agreement with Vietnam. It seems like every time the president has a call with somebody or goes somewhere, it brings back some deals, and that's good for America as we can get these deals. And these countries like to do business and have some business and trade, and it looks good for them as well. So yeah, and that's good for American workers, and taking the imbalance that's been out there for some time on American jobs, and making the changes and differences there. So that's good. Border crossings, lowest in 6 years, or lowest ever. Excuse me, not 6 years. The lowest ever. Is being announced that as they, I'm assuming since they've recorded these, we wouldn't know about ever. But in the masses, we can understand that because we've always had, we've always had people trying to slip over the border, and you're trying to intercept them. But as they've been able to record, this is the lowest ever for the month of June, and that's great news. The lowest ever, according to the White House, and I believe it because they've been stepping up. And also the deportations, which, those know that if they get in the country, if they're caught, they're out. There'll be no, hold you for a trial for 7 years from now or whatever. You're going to be out, and so that is causing less people to come towards the border. Remember the caravans? I mean, it's not been that long ago, right? I mean, just how sickening was that? This highway that was paved with American tax dollars. I mean, basically, this highway that was all the way through, or a good portion of Central America, and these massive caravans, and people would go down, news people, podcasters, different ones, people on the ground that really know the area, and they would join up with these caravans and start, gently asking questions. It can be dangerous, but they would, find Chinese, Iranians, Cubans, Venezuelans, people all over, massive caravans, riding on trains, walking, and they would be picking up more and more people as they get towards the border. The country's doing nothing about it. They're just opening like their doorway. I mean, they're just walking across several nations, to come to America, knowing when they got there, the Bidens was just going to let them, cross over into America, give them a court date at some point in the future, which it's never going to happen. And they wouldn't even know where these people were, giving them sometimes whole new identities. They were getting all the benefits, the taxpayer benefits that we were giving them, cards, hotels, whatever. And in some cases, the accommodations weren't great. Everybody wasn't getting the hotel. There were some, and there were churches that stepped up. And this is also not a humanitarian thing that the Biden administration was doing. There was, I remember one, and it was upstate. I think it was up in Washington, Oregon or Washington. They would have these these people just kept getting, dropped off, and they were doing all they could. They were getting very little help from anybody, and they were using their fellowship hall. They were, trying to, transition these people and get them in touch with somebody. I mean, they were just showing up. The church is like, well, we're going to try to feed them and give them a place to stay, water, all that, and kids involved and everything else, and it just was showing up. And that's just where this thing had gotten to. And so then some of them had been in bigger hotels, had gotten kicked out, because that's the way they are. You trust in the government. That's what happens. And they found out that the government wasn't their friend either in the end, because they would get kicked out. They would be promised accommodations. They would take them to tents somewhere. But some of them refused to get off the bus when they pulled up. They saw it. They're like, we're not doing that. You didn't show them, Park Avenue. You didn't show them a really nice hotel that they have to pay for. And now you're busting them out to this, massive tent colony village, or just dropped them off. They were dropped off at, big churches that had things going like, helps like that. But they were overwhelmed, and they just kept coming. And the reason I kicked them out of the hotel was they had more coming there. They were just cycling them through. It's massive amounts of people. You remember the bridge crossings, there, and the 2 or 3 main crossings there across the border, and just massive amounts of people, camped out on the other side, and it's just sickening. Just to watch it happen. And now, from that till we have the lowest recorded numbers ever for crossings, in June when those numbers came in, and that's great. I mean, that makes you feel good. Like, hey, we're getting something accomplished here. We're finally getting somewhere, So, kudos to the president for making that happen. Still trying to get, some of these violent ones out of here. They're arresting hundreds a day or deporting hundreds a day, arresting more than that, I suspect, but deporting, hundreds a day, and getting them, get them the heck out of here, and then tightening up the border. And I can imagine those border communities, which were overwhelmed too. A lot of those are small towns. I mean, there were more people coming across the border into some of these small towns in Texas than lived in the town. I mean, they just felt, the citizens felt traumatized, like, their safety. What do we do? A lot of the ranchers down there, I mean, having to arrange their own security, ranchers teaming up, riding their massive farms and ranches together, armed to the teeth, because they were encountering people that were outnumbered them, and in some cases, outgunning them. And, they were afraid for their lives, and they would have livestock go missing as they killed them for food, and other things that were stolen, their outbuildings and stuff. They never knew what they were going to walk out to. And they've always kind of lived with it. They could stumble up on somebody, but not whole gangs, like massive amounts of people. Take a rancher, even if it was a rancher with a couple of sons, maybe 4 or 5 farmhands, if you had that kind of farm. You're not gonna. I mean, somebody's, we're 100, 200 people. You're not going to stop that unless you got heavy armament or some help. And they were just, their wives were afraid to go out to get in the car. In some cases, cars got stolen. The list goes on and on. I mean, they would just find damage. They would find their fences broke down, things stolen, or find them camped out or in a building. Imagine going out and you open up, your barn or something, and all of a sudden, you're running up on, 14, 15 illegals, no English. And, can you imagine being startled like that early morning, going out to take care of the animals, start your day, and that's what you run into. So they have got to be celebrating this, I would think, no matter what their political affiliations are, which I suspect most of them are probably conservative. But even if they weren't, they got to be celebrating the fact that less people are coming across, lowest numbers ever recorded, and that's increases the opportunities that they're going to have. Not if anybody, or every once in a blue moon, as they say, somebody on your property. But yeah, these people were, I mean, they were in an invasion. We as a nation were, but they were the front lines to that, you know. And then the citizens of America who were forbidden to get close to the border, to interview people coming across, threatened with arrest, American citizens, not impeding any kind of, border operation, just, cell phone in hand or camera or whatever, recording the goings on. Uh, they were told by NGOs, they were NGOs that were, as these people would come up, people were trying to interview them, and they were told by the NGOs, don't talk to these people, like they're the bad guys. They would tell them stuff like that, like they're the bad guys. You don't want to talk to them, and in some cases threaten them. All kind of NGOs, and just issuing all kind, thousands of dollars per of help, and was being nicer to the person that streamed over the border than the person who's the actual American citizen. So when you hear news like that, with all that we've went through, it just makes you feel good to know that we've got that kind of change going on for the border. And then let's not forget the border agents themselves, who were not allowed to do their job, who in many cases over several of the last, outside of the 4 years of President Trump's first term, you go all the way through Obama's years. It was even back then. I mean, we remember the gun operation across, and border agents that were arrested and charged for returning fire. Border agents that were shot, taking fire from the other side of the Rio Grande, and not being able to respond to that. I mean, just like they were. I mean, I'm sure there were probably someone who left the profession, who just got disgusted with the whole operation and fear for their own safety. They were border agents, I mean, being injured, and they weren't allowed to do their job. And good morning, Michael. And you have that right there is got to be just very, very frustrating for those border agents. I mean, who through years of experience, even touring through some of those towns, if they'd already gotten over, were really good at spotting the drug runners. Just that, as you do a job, you get very good at it. You get very comfortable knowing, and it's not, you want to call it profiling, fine. I mean, you learn to do your job. We all profile to a degree. I mean, we profile. Somebody's walking down our street. There's absolutely a profile going on. You're trying to figure out, do you know them? Do they look like they're just walking through to the store or school or a friend's house? Or do they look like they're seedy? Do they look like they could, want to, harm you, steal something out of your yard, harm your kids? I mean, we all profile. I mean, it's just so much ridiculous thing. Of course we profile. People trying to figure out who you are and what you're doing there. That's just natural. And border agents have that same ability, but honed through years of training and spotting these kinds of people, and being able to intercept, and using all the massive amount of technology that we have in monitoring and surveilling. Well, of course we're profiling. We're surveilling whole towns. I mean, our nation is, in a sense, we've become a surveilling country. I mean, cameras up. That's what that is. They use those cameras to that's what do they do? As soon as there's a problem, they get all the camera footage brought in because they're trying to figure out what's going on. They have cameras they monitor too. I mean, we're a society with cameras. So they use that technology to, look for illegals and look for drug runners, trying to get back to the main person, who's doing this stuff. And yes, the same border agents or Texas Rangers or whoever, and the other states as well. I'm not trying to leave them out, but you hear about the ones in Texas a lot more sometimes, but Arizona, wherever, where they find these families near death, sometimes dead, but near death. And we probably all saw those videos where, they carry cold water, first aid kits, sometimes they've had to, call in for a helicopter, and they're offering aid. That's the humane thing to do. We take care of people. We can disposition afterward, but kids, I mean, they've been sold a bill of goods by some, uh, probably most of them working for cartels, but there's independent mules who take all their money, get them to the border, and give them a crappy map, which is probably not even true. It's just some made up map. The women have been abused sometimes if they're, especially if they're alone. Who knows? Maybe even the kids. Horrible. They get them across the border, and then they're walking for miles and miles and miles in that desert heat with very little, if any, kind of water or liquids of any kind. And so these agents are patrolling, looking for that too. And I've seen those videos. They walk up and they it's not even a matter of giving up. It's like, thank God. You can see it in their faces, like, please help. And they're getting the water out and getting these people cool down rags or whatever. Getting them in the air conditioning. I mean, they're saving their lives. And so I have great respect for those folks, and to know how they've been treated by certain administrations. It makes me sick in my core. It's the same crap that I feel when I've seen the Marines disrespected at the White House. You hear those stories about how certain administrations have been flippant, talked down to, got smart with, or just flatly ignored the honorable guard who is guarding their lives. There's a protocol, the salutes and everything that a president does, or just being kind. Some administrations have not been kind, either them or people in their party posse, the people that they surround themselves with, or all of them have treated our military with extreme disrespect in cases like that. And you get a president who gets it. I mean, President Trump, for all the things they accuse him of, there's one thing they cannot ever accuse him of, because it is evident and visible when he's at an event. You see the police and the military and whatever it is, they're all lined up. They're hoping to meet the president, and you can see a genuine exchange of pleasantries, and the president's giving them a thumbs up, salutes, fist pumps, patting them on the back, thanking them for the job they're doing. He'll go out of his way. He'll tell his own security, no, I'm going over here. I'm going to talk to these guys. They love that. They're being recognized. They're being appreciated for the job they do. And we've had administrations that have just treated these people like they're scum, like they're beneath them, like they would step on them if they were a bug. And it just makes you mad when you see that kind of crap going on. So I just appreciate that. I'm glad that these on the border are finally, and it makes the job of the police deeper within the country, their job easier too. I mean, let's face it, hundreds of miles, maybe even thousands of miles into the nation, depending on location, the pipeline of where that happens. These police officers on the street, making not that much, are encountering these people. And so every car pullover, which is always dangerous for an officer, everybody should do a ride along at some point. Just ride along with officers. And I've not done the ride along, but I've done the mock pullover, and we got to walk up to the car with a scenario. I got to do that, and it's a whole different perspective when you get out. And I've been able to sit in the police car from that point, get out, and you're walking up to the car, and it's amazing what you can't see, and what you're trying to make sure that you're taking everything in, because everything matters and your life is on the line possibly. And when you walk up, if this person is illegal, for sure, they'll panic. And if it's just panic, they don't want to be caught. They might try to take off. They could turn violent, but even if they just took off, putting lives at risk, including, especially the officer and themselves. But if they're illegal and they're violent, because not all illegals are violent. Everyone should never suggest that. Many of them they come over looking for better. I get that. They're still illegal. We still need to deal with them, but they're looking for better, and they've got their family. But you do have the violent ones as well, the ones who were criminals on the other side, and now they're criminals here. And so they could be running drugs. They could be just the kind of person like, that piece of scum that killed the Georgia college student, like in Raleigh, and others like her. She's not the only one. Her case got a lot of attention, as it should. But you meet scum like that, you don't know what you're dealing with, and so that puts their lives in danger, even more so as an officer, and it's not even an American citizen. So it creates a better environment, and the crime level should go down as these border crossings are coming down to record lows. The crime numbers should go down, and that's got to be a good thing. And let's face it, the drugs which are brought over, or they come over and manufacture or whatever, which has affected my family. Now, I don't know that anything about illegals has affected in that situation, but I don't know that it hasn't. And if anything, whatever family is affected, I'm happy that American families are not being subjected to as much of the flow of drugs. Years ago, they mocked the war on drugs. And they just basically, leftist administrations, their attitude was, "I'll just let everybody have drugs. Let's legalize everything." I've had friends say this. Let's just legalize everything. The giving out of syringes, giving them open places to do drugs. This has been a massive failure. They acted as though this was going to just make it legal. That'll make it safer. We'll give them the stuff to do it with. No, it's made it worse. And now they've realized that, and now we're paying for that because we have a society where drug use is rampant, even more so. It's affecting every family. Crime rates don't go down; they go up because these people are feeding their habit, and or selling, or whatever the case may be. And I get it. I know money that it was a flow of money to other things as well to fight the so-called war on drugs. But you've always got to fight criminality. And if you look at what's going on in, other nations, I mean, is that what they say? I mean, I don't care what they say. Let's take care of America. And you have to protect your public the best you can. And stopping the flow of fentanyl or methamphetamines or whatever it is that's coming into the country. And it's still coming. That's made here, but also comes into the country. Those things are very damaging to our society. And we can see the effects of that right now. And we all pay for that. We pay for that through higher prices, that we go to the store for the thefts that they don't catch. We pay for that through higher taxes, as we have to, as society starts melting down, and these people are a drain on the society. Their taxes going up to help pay for that stuff, as programs to feed the homeless, and treatments and stuff like that they put them into. If they have no money, that's being paid for. Our families are being ripped apart, destroyed, hurt, losing everything. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and without saying his name or his story, his brother had gotten into drugs. He don't know when or where it started. And of course, he loved his brother, and near the end, I mean, he finally, well, he was trying to help him. At times, he would have that saying, I'm good, then I'm bad. I'm good, then I'm bad. One of the times he was bad, one of the times he was good, his brother was able to get, hold of some of the stuff, the valuables and stuff for him, so that it wouldn't be gone. But when they, and he had taken out insurance on him in case anything ever happened. He didn't pay for everything, but they had enough. But when he died, due to cancer, it wasn't due to drugs, but cancer. But there were people that had been around him who had access to him. They cleaned him out. They just cleaned him out. When they got there was very little left of anything of value. That's what happens. It's just a massive, massive drain upon society. So those are good things. Michael, I hope you feel a little bit better this morning. I know how it is, man. It's tough. I appreciate you checking in with us. I know you're feeling great. Steve wasn't feeling good last night. He was down his back. I hope he's able to get back to work today. I know he got to work, and he's a worker. And you lose money when you're out and you're not able to to work unless you've got some PTO time or something like that. Those are difficult, but I hate that. And I know you don't work now, but hope you're feeling better. There's a lot of people struggle with pain and how to manage that. How to we have that title, pain management, and that can be bad in itself. But the daily fight sometimes, not just daily, but hourly, by the minute, trying to feel good is horrible, and it can drive you crazy. Just can't get comfortable. Pain is constant. That messes with your mind. It really does. Okay, still hurting pretty bad. Going to the doctor appointment today. Prayers to you, man. Hopefully, he can get you straightened out. I know you got a high pain tolerance. Somebody else had already been, they'd have called 911 probably. You got this high pain tolerance, and you're right, trying to, some people can't have that kind of tolerance for pain. You're doing a good job. Hang in there, brother. Hang in there. We're going to be on for a few more minutes. I do have to be to work early today, right before I'm off tomorrow. We'll be doing some, of course, Cornbread Nation tonight. I'm sure we have, you'll try to fit in sports and racing. Racing for sure. I'm going to try to fit in sports. It may have to wait. We're not sure yet. Like I said, I was walking out of the store and I reached for the door. A man opened it. Oh, and you flew on the concrete. Oh, man. Yeah, once you start that route, like you start, you just, I get it, man. Somebody opens the door on you, or once you start losing that balance, it's bad. Falling is never good. And my wife, she's still recovering from her fall. I mean, she's got other things that are going on due to the light stroke she had, but she was pointing her cheek. She hit on this side, and it still gets puffy and red. And I said, it's going to take a long time to heal up. She had 2 broken bones in her face. And I asked her if it hurt. She said no. So thankfully she didn't have that, but it gets discolored. It gets puffy, She may always have something like that there. I'm thankful she didn't have to have surgery. I really am. But it's going to take a long time to get over that. It's sometimes people can, die. We'd hate to say that, but it's true. People can fall down, break a hip, blood clot, break loose, whatever. All kinds of stuff can go bad. Brain bleed, they don't know they got. They think they're okay. And within hours, they're in distress and die. We have to be very careful as we age. The bones get brittle, a little more brittle, might be a lot brittle, depending if we have problems like that. And a fall like that can be a death sentence for some. That's, so important. That's why you teach, young kids, they don't mean nothing but not to run around grandma. Don't wrestle around grandma. Don't, and be careful around her. Be careful around the senior saints. So I was blessed. Mike says I was blessed not to break anything, but I pulled a lot of shoulder muscles. Oh. And of course, you can't move without something like that affecting the rest of your body. And you do everything. It's like your core. If you're hurting your core, you can't move. Everything you do, if you move your legs, it affects the core. If you move your upper body, it affects the core. All the nerve endings go through through your core. Back and forth up, through the body. So yeah, I hate that, man. I hate that. There's that moment when you're falling, and even though it happens very fast, your brain is trying to catch up because you could actually be on the ground before your brain tells you you're on the ground. But there is those times where it's like slow motion. You can't stop it. You're going down. It's still happening kind of fast, but you're going down, and your brain is, it's like you're telling yourself, this is going to hurt and hurt bad. It's like there's no way to stop it. It's just that instantaneous thought. I'm going to be in pain. you know, and you put your hand out. We put our hand out defensively, we jam everything. When I fell that time, I dislocated this part of my arm was up here. It was ugly, and I thought I was going to pass out. I told 911, come on in. I may not be alert. And I said, I'm not one to take any kind of medicine. I remember telling the ambulance crew, I said, they stabilized it, immobilized it. They didn't do anything with it. Do that at the hospital. But I said, we're going to give you something for pain. I said, whatever you got. That's how it was bad, Uh, I'll make it always seem to be longer than it is. I could have went through the glass. Oh, yeah. That would have been bad, too. Then you're dealing with all the cuts and everything else that happens in something like that. And it's just amazing. People, when we get older, too, especially if we have health problems, but even if we don't, it's just by nature of being older, we tend to not step, but shuffle. That's what, Biden was trying to act. And I know he had problems. And I know people laughed at that. I think we probably should laugh at it, but we do laugh at people falling, but we make sure they're okay, right? Oh, they're okay. Oh, it's funny. And we did that. And what Biden was trying to do, was look cool going up down those steps. And what he should have been doing was taking his time, hanging on, and taking sure steps up and down. Well, Bobby used to kill me. I don't care if he was younger, Remember how he would come down the steps? No, he just like jogging, like I'm gonna show my athletic skills off. I never liked that. Here's a couple reasons why I didn't like that. Number one, you are the president of the United States, and these are events. And if you one bad step, and you take a tumble, I don't care what age you are, that could have a bad effect. Two, it's just that as you see the president do stuff, it just kind of teaches people to hate. That's what things are there for, rails and stuff. It's common knowledge of just safety. And he used to kill me doing that. And he was just trying to look cool. Well, Biden would hang on with one hand, but he was trying to run up the steps. And he didn't step as much, as quick. The timing's off. And so he'd fall down, of course he would. And they give President Trump a hard time. But if you'll notice, President Trump, optics for him is everything. He understands this. He's always sure of his footing. Watch him. You ever watch him when he's walking down steps or ramps? When they gave him that hard time that one time, they tried to say, "Look at him. He can't hardly walk. He's walking like an old man. He can't. They got the escort there. They're trying to make the same analogy. No, he's just being careful. Slippery, wet ramps. He realizes if he falls down, it's an event, and it'll be used all around the world in a mocking kind of way. So he's trying to be careful of that. Think about everybody watching you with thousands of cameras wherever you go. And when we fall, there might be 4 or 5 people or even 10 see it. With him, it's millions, if not billions of people are going to see the event. And if he gets hurt, even the more so that's bad. So you watch him, he's very sure, and he's older himself. And yeah, he's heavier than he should be. That happens too for a lot of people as they age. And they've given him a hard time. He does like to eat stuff he shouldn't eat, the Big Macs or whatever. Nothing against Big Macs. I'm not saying anything against McDonald's or anything. I've ate them. But, he's put on weight. They like to pick at him for that. It comes with territory. He gets it. But he's very sure of his footing. And I do appreciate that about him. That we're not here to watch how quick you can run up down Air Force One steps or Air Force Two. Or Marine One or whatever. That's not the cool factor I'm looking for. I want you to walk up there like a boss because that's what you are. They used to give who was it MacArthur hard time about how he would stage those landings and stuff. But that stuff is how much of it really happened, I don't know. But those things are the image is everything. And you want to look tough without having to act tough. And he does. He does that. Michael says, my bones are like bad crackers. They crumble before you touch them. Oh, yeah. I'm one of those guys that likes to take the cracker and dip it into my. You eat more of them than you should. I try not to do too much of them, but chili or soup or whatever, I like to put on my cracker and eat off of it. They make crackers that are so flimsy. Yeah. You can't do that. They just crumble. It's like cotton candy in your mouth. It's just gone. It's like, this ain't no good. And I realize, sometimes the wife is looking for a deal. Money's tight. We've all been there. And so, you're shopping on a budget. You find these generic, off-brand, just as crackers on the side or something. And you just got to go with it. Crumble them up in whatever you eat because you're not putting nothing on them. I've tried. The easy as you take it, they're going to crumble. Sometimes they're coming out of the pack, just crumble because the shipping, they're already being bounced around in the box. They're already broken. Trump's shelf in Florida fixed his Trump burger. Yeah, you have a blessed day too. I can't stay all the way that's why I came on early. I was trying to get on at 5:30. I didn't quite make it, but I will be back on today and several times, I'm sure. At least 2 that we know of, maybe 3, maybe 4, who knows? And I don't have to work tomorrow. So we get some other things done as well. Got to finish up some business aspects and things like that. But hey, y'all have a great day out there. I'm putting in a full day, so get in early, get out a little bit earlier. I got to run to election headquarters and see them for a second, and then get home. And Brother Dean and him will be on today. I've got the racing show ready to go. I just need to finish up a couple things for the sports show. We're going to try to run that back to back. I appreciate you doing that, Michael. Your being here means a lot. I know you like to watch a lot of shows, and I don't blame you. There's some excellent shows out there. I appreciate your friendship. I hope you find some sort of entertainment in our show and news or whatever we're bringing. We try to bring a diversity of things to our show. And the numbers are rising every day for us. We see the numbers in the streams. It was yesterday morning. Our numbers were better for the morning show than I've ever seen them. It was amazing to see that. We had a lot. I had to go off the air. I would like to extend it an hour. We had a lot of people. Well over 100 was in the stream. For us, that's a lot. Some people are running hundreds or even a couple of thousand in there. That's in watching. We have hit those marks before, but typically we have 30 or 40, 50, somewhere in there. We were well over 100 counting all streams. That's nice, so somebody found something they like. So even if it's just to curse us, Now there's generally some great people out there. And we're getting new messages all the time as new people are coming on board and becoming friends with people all over the world and here in America. The analytics are fun to watch. I'm fixed to have to leave, but the analytics are fun to watch. I need to pull some of them, the ones I can see, the audio side and the video side, just show some of the numbers. And it's pretty amazing, really. We do have our senior crowd, but we also have people that are younger, and the numbers bear it out and where they kind of come from. There's a lot of analytics, all these things that offer you up. And then how they find us. That's kind of interesting too. How do they find us? Through a link, through direct, just how they find us. So interesting. So have a great day out there. It's one day before the 4th. Happy celebration of freedom to America. And let's enjoy the 4th. Spend time with family. Go to a cemetery and salute a grave of those who have given their time or their very life to defend America. And we appreciate you. God bless America, and God bless you. And let me get the music rolling, and we'll be back to take.